Julia Sand Lecture Number 3, October 5th, 1881. Honorable Chester A. Arthur. Well, you have gone. So much the better. But they say you are coming back again, very soon. Please don't. New York is the one spot on the continent where you positively ought not to be this fall. If your private affairs require attention, show your patriotism in letting them suffer. It will take months for you to live down the injury you have done yourself in being here just for a few days. And it is not the good of the country that I should lose confidence in you now. Taken at large, one brand of the Republican Party is about as good as the other. That man from Maine does not lead a band of angels, any more than that man from the other place. But in the state of New York it is different. Here an absolute right and wrong are in conflict. Unfortunately, you have been connected with the side which represents the wrong, the machine, a thing which I politely requested you to smash. Perhaps I was expecting too much of human nature that you should take pride in doing that. But no effort on your part is necessary. Only be passive. Stay in Washington, absorbed in national affairs, not showing by the movement of an eyelash that you take an interest in what is going on here. And when the electioneering excitement is over, you have merely to bow gracefully to that great law of nature, the survival of the fittest. Depend on it, the fitness will not be an old machine. If there is a soul in the Republican Party, it is on the other side. You are in a different position, perhaps feel far more in need of comfort than of criticism, but you ought not to make things worse for yourself than they must be. In coming to New York at this season, you do. You put yourself in temptation. In a certain way, you put yourself in the power of untrustworthy men. In your own house, with your usual surroundings, might you not sometime forget that you were President of the United States? In the depths of your heart, do you not, or will we say, did you not, love a political row? Not one in which anybody got killed. That is too serious. But just a nice, lively time? Do you not, or did you not, take a serene satisfaction in outwitting your opponents? Is there not, or was there not, one aboard in your nature which responds, or did respond, peculiarly to the lights and the noise and the nonsense of a political campaign? Are you certain, with the whole thing in full blast around you, that you could keep perfect by neutral and calm? And if you could, do you think you would be allowed the credit of it? Not if your old adherents could help it. You cannot longer claim the privacy of an ordinary citizen, and you have not here the protection of your official surroundings. You might sit in your library, with locked doors, all day, and it would not prevent every Republican ragamuffin in town from ringing your bell and putting on the air of an intimate friend. You might go to bed at 8 o'clock, and it would not prevent some miserable ward association from walking up and down in front of your house with torches and tooting Yankee Doodle till it drove you almost wild. And if, by the 11th hour, you lost your temper so far as to put your head out of the window, say a few bad words, and request them to go home, nothing could give them greater satisfaction. They would deafen you with their cheers, and the next morning you would read in the newspapers that you had received a grand ovation from your old friends, to which you had cordially responded, while the band played. Oysters, chicken salad, ice cream, and champagne were served to the crowd by the pailful, after which you appeared on an upper balcony, in full general's uniform, and delivered a lengthy, eloquent, and carefully prepared oration, setting forth distinctly your future policy, a leading feature of it being a demand to be made upon Congress at an early date for an appropriation of $999 million for the erection of villages in the Rocky Mountains, to accommodate your stalwart friends, each one of whom, during your term, should be his own postmaster, and meanwhile have facilities for building a little railroad to be president of, when you are no more. How would you like it? And how long would it take you to live such a story down? Who, besides possible postmasters and railroad presidents, would have any faith left in you? Do you think it sounds as exaggerated, that fair-minded people would not credit it? Oh, it sounds wonderfully like what might have been expected, by both friend and foe, from the Mr. Arthur who used to run the machine in New York. You Washingtonians have no idea what a dreadful creature he was. I saw a picture of him once, and it had horns. You must not let yourself be mistaken for that man for one moment. Mr. Arthur in Washington is another person, and the sooner he makes the country understand it, the happier it will be for all parties. And now you are thinking that I am insanely conceited for giving you such an avalanche of my ideas. Probably. I admit that I have let facts speak loudly against me. Yet I am not prompted by egotism. I know that my opinion, as mine, can have no weight with you. If it has any value, it is because we are strangers, because our paths have never crossed and are not likely ever to meet, because while taking an intense interest in politics, I have no political ties. It is because it is impersonal, a sampling of something in general use, like the fresh air, a thing you could have abundance of if you were out in the fields, yet may feel the want of in a city, where the atmosphere is close and the crowd pressing against you. However, there is little originality in the human race. Minds go sympathetically in groups towards a given idea. 500 people claim to have discovered the comet, and so, perhaps, 500 people whom you never saw or heard of, and devoutly hope never to see or hear of again, have been persecuting you with their wisdom. In that case, I pity you sincerely and apologize 10,000 times, but I will not trouble you much oftener. Possibly this is the last time. There are reasons why it is difficult for me to write to you, and I am not fond of talking when it is of no purpose. Soon you will show what you intend to do. Half measures have no place on your program. They would make too flat a failure. If you choose one course, you will have all the praise you want, without mine. If you choose the other, I shall know that if my first appeal to you was in vain, nothing that I could say to you now would avail. But I will not admit that if. I intend to go on having faith in you. Goodbye. Yours sincerely, J.I.S. P.S. October 8th. I have just seen a picture of the Mr. A in Washington, a very interesting one, in the character of Henry V. I have half a mind to send it to you when my brother gets done admiring it. By the way, do you take any care of your health? Perhaps naturally it is good, but there are limits to human strength. You have been under a great nerve strain for months past, and now you read constantly of your being hard at work or receiving callers, but rarely of your going anywhere. You ought to be out every day, and early in the day too. Not when the sunset chill is in the atmosphere and malaria is prowling around in search of its victims. You ought to take the time, even if you have to make up at night. Nothing supplies a place of fresh air and sunshine. By force of will we can accomplish a great deal, and under the excitement of it, fancy that we are thriving. But if the health is neglected, the breakdown is certain to come. When it comes, it is not easily mended. If one thing more than another it would make the duties of your position intolerable to you, it would be to have to meet them with a perpetual headache. Therefore, ward it off. Do not sit still all day, and let the blood go crowding to your brain. If you are not too heavy, your pictures vary about 100 pounds in weight, and it would be cruelty to animals to have a depressing effect upon them. Why not ride on horseback all through the night, bright bracing autumn weather? Of all things in the world, that is the exercise which most quickly sets the blood in motion, and brings refreshment alike to body and mind. And now, before I leave you in peace, may I say one thing more? What is this talk of a coolness between you and Mr. James, which renders his resignation unavoidable? The public does not insist that you should keep Garfield's cabinet, but if there is one man it wants you to keep, he is the one. Do not let him go. If he will not stay for your sake, make him see that it is a time to put aside any personal considerations, that the people wish his services, that he has a duty to his country. It was much harder for you to forgive him than it is for him to forgive you. It always is harder when we are in the wrong, and probably you see more clearly now than you did 6 months ago what it is for a few men to unite to bully the president into carrying out their views. But some people always are in the right, and have a way of making the right seem odious. Is he one of that kind? Well, even if he is, keep him. When he is quite too awfully cool, you can just shovel a few coals of fire on his head and make it hot for him, like a good Christian. It is detestable to have uncongenial people mixed with our daily life. Yet sometimes it may be good for us. It forces us to be very critical of our own conduct and to live closer to our ideal. You may have a great deal of trial in this way, but in the end, when you have obliged those who distrusted you to acknowledge your worth, you will have the most beautiful of triumphs, one that is pure and noble and perfectly free from all worldly vanity. You have a great responsibility resting on you, but you will prove equal to it. With the best hopes and wishes for your future, farewell. Sincerely your friend, J.I.S.